The best thing to happen to landscape architecture? I'm not sure it's happened yet, in that I'm pretty convinced that landscape architecture is a profession that really will find its way to lead in a lot of areas of activity in the 21st century. I think the institute and the profession is gaining confidence, and that there's more recognition of what landscape architects do in dealing with all aspects of natural and cultural processes, and the complexity of that and the change that can bring. And I think there are signs that we are having an impact, but I don't think we've got there yet. The most encouraging prospect for landscape architecture is that, not to get too intellectual about it, but I think there's a greater understanding about systems and processes in the natural and built environment. So people are starting to understand how all of these things interrelate. One of the terms that's become commonly used recently is integrated green infrastructure, where we're all discussing how systems to do with water and to do with the activities that people get involved in the outdoor environment and the built environment, how all of those things work together. And the fact that there's a wider understanding and discussion around that is essentially revealing what landscape architects have always done, and it gives it more presence in the current debate around those issues. The Glasgow and Clyde Valley Green Network Partnership commissioned a piece of work about 6 years ago, and essentially it was looking at the question of why there was so little community food growing happening in Greater Glasgow, and the question of, well, why is that and what could be done about it? So we developed a strategy for them, looking at that, examining those issues, and out of that there was an effort between ourselves, an arts charity based in Glasgow called NVA, and the Green Network Partnership to try and then push forward and make that strategy happen. So those were the early days, and it's sort of evolved and taken different shapes over the last number of years with lots of different partners, and there are now 7 growing spaces that are built and active, 500 or 600 people actively involved in growing on a regular basis as a result of that. And essentially all of those projects are in areas of multiple deprivation within essentially the most deprived communities in Scotland. So the fact that that's happening and that's succeeding in those places, and that's being driven by the people in those communities, is fantastic. In some ways, the early effort was to try and establish a standalone organisation that would drive the thing forward. That never really got off the ground, in that we were probably trying to do it at a point where, obviously with the economic downturn and everybody cutting money they're putting into things, wasn't a great time to be trying to do it. And essentially what's happened is all the projects pretty much have happened through different communities or different agencies kind of contacting us, and we've worked with lots of different groups of people to deliver those projects. So it's been happening sort of one at a time, and it's just at any given point, you know, we weren't sure whether it would stop, whether the last one we did would be the last one that would happen, but it just keeps sort of stumbling along, and that seems to still be happening. So I guess there could be a continued run of creating those spaces, or the most recent one has just been built and was complete, and people got into it just before Christmas. So that could be the last one, or there could be another 7 or 70 or whatever. On a personal level, as a landscape architect, and all the things that we do, our practice, arts, and personally, we work at a whole range of different scales, so from strategy and master plan through to design and delivery of all kinds of different projects. It just so happens as a pastime, I do grow things. It's nothing to do with my professional life really, and it's been a funny crossover of I suppose an out-of-work interest and what we do as an office. So that's been different to other things, and it's been quite nice, I suppose, to bring that into these projects and to have that sort of involvement with them. What I've got from it, I think there's been quite a lot of learning and appreciation of the fact that at the outset in these, in terms of the policy language, these areas of multiple deprivation, and a lot of agencies being pretty convinced that the projects would fail, that there wouldn't be any interest, that there would be vandalism. The fact that there was such a level of enthusiasm and such a strong involvement from those communities, where each of those projects has thrived and has grown, and they've got waiting lists and they've taken over extra land, that's seeded something in those places where those organisations, those new community groups, are acting as catalysts for change in areas where essentially the public realm had completely failed. You know, there was outdoor space, derelict and vacant land, you know, expanses of land that was unused and unusable, and those groups are populating that, bringing activity to it, bringing presence, making it safe, and they're expanding outwards and seeking more and more control of that. And I think that's a fantastic thing. I think that's been a very uplifting and positive experience.